Everybody, it's the Mad Master here. So I just was, I'm going to do a lot of videos today. So I'm pretty pissed off about a lot of things right now, as people are aware. But one of the things that bothers me, I just was thinking about this. Like, I was just listening to some Bathory, Blood, Fire, Death to be exact, because for some dumb ass reason, my iPod is not working in my car right now. And I don't know if it's the cord that I don't do Bluetooth with it. My car is kind of old. Bluetooth works very sporadically, so I do a cord. But I don't do a cord. I do the iPod cord into like a USB. So I might try the direct cord sometime. I don't know. I could get one of those direct cords. I don't know how good it'll sound or not. But nevertheless, so I have a CD copy of Blood, Fire, Death I was listening to. I was like thinking about all the thrash bands from the 80s and the punk bands and shit that had like a million different causes and stuff. And I'm like, you remember those like, it's like I had this Dead Kennedys poster because, all right, I sprayed my wall with like some bleach and it looked bad, and I bought this Dead Kennedys album that came with a poster, so I put it over for my apartment inspection 2 years ago, so I put it over that spot because it looked a little weird. Yeah, on the wall. But it has all this collage of pictures of all these different political statements and all these crazy things. And I thought about it, I'm like, it's very limited now. Like, what is the political message that the liberals are talking about? Trump! That's all they fucking care about is Donald Trump. And meanwhile, you have Dick Cheney making a comeback. You have, neoliberal fucking bullshit all over the place. Wars starting. And it's like, but this is kind of more of a nostalgic video. Look back at a Nuclear Assault album lyric sheet. Look at a DRI lyric sheet. Look at Dead Kennedys. Look at whoever, And there's like 50 million different things they were talking about. They were talking about animal rights. They were talking about, and I'm not saying this doesn't happen, but it's just not as intense and not as, not as prominent. People talk, they were talking about nuclear war, censorship, freedom of speech. They were talking about Christianity, the Christian conservative right, all this stuff. Now it seems like it's all this one message. Project 2025. You know how many times the Heritage Foundation has written out fucking all these like different like policy proposals for probably 45, 50 years or however they've been around. And people are like, Project 2025. It's like this fear-mongering thing to vote for your mediocre-ass candidate who can't even do a regular interview without it being like prepared, just like her boss, Biden. And Biden, I think Harris would be a lot worse than Biden in many ways. She's just so fake and so fucking, and this the whole like was the collard greens thing. She grew up in like these two professors that are at least upper middle class. She's the daughter of two professors at college, these big time colleges like Berkeley and forgot the other one. But nevertheless, these people are so it's just we're missing this kind of cornucopia of ideas and causes that the left used to be about. Now, I don't support everything on the left, and I don't really like a lot of the direction it's taken the last 10 years, especially 10 or 12, well, plus 10 years plus. Because I think a lot of their ideas have softened towards their things that they were very aghast about 20 years ago. The war on terror, domestic spying, wars in various countries. And I'm not saying we're going to have World War III, like, oh, it's guaranteed. But it's just like, what's the difference between Trump and Kamala as far as foreign policy, really, at the end of the day, if they're both, supporting the wholesale slaughter of civilians in Gaza? And people can make their excuses, their little silly excuses. Mercy's better than Trump. Fuck off. I'm not going to listen to that shit. I'm not going to hear that shit. But anyways, I don't care about that even. I'm talking about this whole thing. The left has really turned into just this monosymbolic, I think that's the word, monosymbolic chorus. Well, it's not a chorus, actually. It's just monosymbolic voice of talking about one thing, Trump, and maybe a little bit of climate change, NIMBYism, you know, as they say, not in my backyard. They will, you know, and I'm not great either. They will buy shit from Starbucks, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say that I don't do that, because I do, but at least I'm admitting it. Amazon, all these, you know, different devices. They get, I don't. This is one thing I don't do, is I don't get a new phone every year. Some of these people, I got my new phone. Well, Kamala Harris, I got my new phone that's mined by slaves. It's so great. It's like, or, you know, the Cobalt. Because I wrote a story about my former the CEO of my former job called Cobalt and Ginger, and it's a short story that I did just as like a catharsis. And I told, you know, I stick a phone up his ass. You know, it's not like a colonoscopy though. Like, it's kind of ironic that I wrote the same year I wrote a story about sticking a phone up someone's ass that I get something stuck up my ass for a while and I actually feel it. But anyways, that's a different story altogether. But, you know, this whole notion, he has to work at a cobalt slave mine in Africa at the end. It was just like a revenge story, and I thinly veiled, you know, characters. I changed the names, you know, of course, and stuff. But yeah, I wrote this short story. And what was I getting at? But anyways, it's just like this whole idea that you're so much better than everybody else, and even this video is kind of like that. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I admit that I am saying that shit. But you know, in this way I am pointing out this hypocrisy, this NIMBYism and stuff. But the left used to be about a lot more stuff. It just used to have more variety of ideas. And it's just very small now. It used to be a huge chorus, back to that word, of different voices and just different ideas and different causes and stuff. And now it's just about getting Donald Trump not to be in office and all this shit. It's like, well, what else are you about? What are your policy proposals? Or about diversity, right? Those two things. Donald Trump and diversity. If you don't have those two things, or if you have those two things, we're fine with you. You could fucking murder 1 million people, literally. But if you're against Donald Trump and you're for diversity, we love you. You can murder 1 million people. You can pollute the earth with your fucking Halliburton and all this shit. And, oh, no, we love you. We love dick training. It's like, yeah, okay. Okay, go ahead. Let's see how that works out. We'll see how that works out when Kamala is president. She's fracking up a storm. And then are you going to complain to me about the fracking? Are you going to complain to me about the fucking businesses ripping people off? Or about even more wars? Are you going to fucking tell me that I'm a bad person for not voting or voting for Jill Stein, whichever one I choose? Or who knows, you know, maybe. if the RFK and the fucking Tulsi is the beginning of, I mean, there's 2 more months. It's not going to happen. You know, I would love for Donald Trump to go out and say, fuck the Gaza war, you know, and, you know, just go totally populist. Like, it would always be right wing to some extent, but you could go more libertarian populist. If he did that, he'd get my vote. He's not going to do it. It's only 2 months. But if that's a good direction, RFK and Tulsi. Well, Tulsi is a little, yeah, there's some things about Tulsi, of course. But yeah, this whole fucking notion, I spit, by the way. This whole notion that Kamala Harris is so great. Yeah. But anyways, I'm kind of blathering in this video now. So this whole idea, I just remember this. I remember this being a thing back in the day. You would open these album sleeves. You would have all these different pictures and these ideas, and it was really cool to have. There was diversity in thought in a certain way. Like, you know, one person might be more concerned with nuclear war. One person might be more concerned with censorship. You know, you had Ice-T. I've gotten into more recently, again, because of his body. The new body count sounds pretty kick-ass. Not only the lyrics, like the one about the 2 parties, but, you know, just the music's pretty. I think I got the Agent Steel guitarist in the mix now, the former Agent Steel guy. Killer band. I really liked some of their later albums were pretty good. So he's getting the metal. He's bringing the fucking metal. Ice-T in his band, you know. It's a little bit metalcore-ish too, I'll admit. But, you know, whatever. It's like he influenced a lot of that shit. Let's just face it. Listen to the first body count. They influenced some of that stuff. I don't know, the context of that, but it just sounds like they fucking did, with all the rapcore and all that shit. The first Body Count, 1991, Cop Killer, classic album. Yeah, absolutely fucking, brilliant stuff. But yeah, this whole notion that this used to be like a thing. This just used to be more active. People used to be more actively into this whole thing. Maybe things did get better in some ways. I'm gonna hold out a little bit for that. They did get better. Things got a little better, but you still have this thing. I'm gonna be doing a video later, and I never really put my thoughts to this, or not thoughts, my words into what I mean by this exactly. But I'm gonna tell people what exactly I mean by this. But I think like neoliberalism has its roots in, it's gonna sound really woke, but white supremacy. And I want to just like go into that notion in a video. So anyways, I'm going to do that video next before I go somewhere else. So